If you're planning a trip to Japan for your parents, this is the definitive guide for you. 1 year later, my mom and I still talk about how much fun we had on our 10-day trip. This day-by-day, activity-by-activity itinerary takes the lessons we learned to create the perfect 9-night trip for your parents with picky diets or lower energy levels. The best time to go to Japan is October through the second week of November. The weather will be 70 degrees outside on average, low chances of rain, and the prices of hotels are very affordable at this time. So there are 3 ways to get from the US to Japan. You can fly directly. This costs you around $1,500 when you book 3 months in advance, and the flight time is around 14 hours. That can be uncomfortable. If you can get a 787 or an Airbus A350, the lower cabin pressure makes that a lot more doable for older people. The second option is for you to fly with one stop on the way. The benefits of these flights are that the longest stretch is shorter at around 10 hours on average, since you'll be flying out of the West Coast through Vancouver or San Francisco or LAX. These flights usually cost around $1,200 and your total trip time is about 18 hours. So it's not so bad. It's a pretty good option. If you want to go this approach and save as much money as possible, here's what you can do. Fly to any one of these 3 airports, and then from here, you can take a Zip Air flight for as low as $600 round trip. Now, the obvious pros is that you're saving around $500 per ticket, and the flights are a lot shorter than if you went nonstop, but this is Japan Airlines' budget subsidiary, so you should know some of the cons. First, the flights have 0 in-seat entertainment, so you need to make sure you download everything on your phone. Second, they do not provide any food or beverage. Now, they do have good options and they're reasonably priced, but they're going to charge you for everything down to a plastic cup. Third, these are older 787s, and they did have one rapid decompression event, which kind of makes me question safety. But fourth, and most importantly, when you take that Spirit Airlines flight, if you don't have all of your luggage in one backpack, which I strongly recommend you do for Japan, you can follow my one-pack travel guide below, and it will help you out with any of your packing needs. But if you need to buy luggage, by the time you pay for that on the budget flight, it may not be worth the headache for the amount of money you're saving with this option. Also, if you miss your Spirit flight or it's delayed in any way, and then you miss the Zip Air flight, you could have a whole bunch of issues with scheduling the rest of your trip. My mom and I did go this approach, but if I were to do this again, I would not do so. I would go with option 1, a nonstop direct flight. She seems to like it, doesn't have any health issues. That's definitely the approach I would take. Another approach, which is really, I think, the best approach if you can take 2 weeks off, is to fly to LAX or Honolulu for a day or 2. Enjoy the beaches. You're not going to see them in Japan. And in October, the water is nice and warm. No matter where you depart from, you should fly into Tokyo. Haneda is more expensive, but it's only 20 minutes away from the city. Narita is an hour away, but I recommend this airport because the public transportation makes it really easy to get quickly into downtown. Okay, so now we're on to the actual itinerary. I recommend you use the Wanderlog so you can follow along. This is a very detailed first day because I'm going to show you everything you need to do the moment you get off the plane. So most flights land in Tokyo around 2 p.m. local time, which is midnight central, which means after you've been traveling for 15 hours, your parents are going to be exhausted. Even though you're landing with plenty of daylight, this isn't the day to go out and do things. You have 2 options with what you can do for the rest of the day. The first is you can continue on to Kyoto using a 3-hour bullet train. Yes, it's another 3 hours in transit, but now you're on a silky smooth maglev train. You've got Mount Fuji views to your right, and you can shop at hundreds of different food options at the train station, which they'll pack up for you to go for your trip. This means you'll arrive at your hotel around 7 p.m. in Kyoto and head straight to bed. Now, this is the option that I personally recommend. You're going to naturally wake up at 3 or 4 a.m. the next day because of the time zone difference. If you're in Kyoto, you can make your way to some of the best spots, some of the most picturesque, most serene locations that get really overcrowded later in the day. And it is magical to experience that on your own. The other option is that you can stay in Tokyo tonight and take the 6 a.m. Shinkansen to Kyoto tomorrow. In this option, you get to rest after a long day's worth of travel. If your parents aren't used to long travel times, then this is the right option. You don't want them to get sick on day 1 because you pushed them too hard. If you decided to head straight to Kyoto, here's a step-by-step guide. After clearing immigration, which can take up to an hour, you'll find a ticketing counter where the Japanese attendants speak very good English. If you landed at Narita, ask them for a ticket on the Narita Sky Access to Shinagawa Station, then a ticket on the Nozomi line from Shinagawa Station to Kyoto Station. Ask for enough time at Shinagawa Station to grab dinner. 45 minutes should be enough. And book a reserved seat. Now, this might sound scary, but it's very straightforward. You'll be traveling from the airport to downtown Tokyo in a train that takes about an hour. You'll arrive at a large subway station with very clear signs and English-speaking attendants. You'll get to go dinner before boarding the high-speed rail to Kyoto, which will take about 2 hours. When you arrive at Kyoto Station, there will be taxis waiting. Show them the address to Hotel Noka through Google Maps, and they'll take you straight there. You'll be in bed, having traveled for 15 plus hours and enjoyed a wonderful dinner at around 7 p.m. local time, which is 5 a.m. CST. You can nap on the train, just don't miss your stop. The ride is super smooth, so set multiple alarms. Now, if you landed at Haneda, you're still going to go to Shinagawa Station in Tokyo before heading on the 2-hour train to Kyoto, but it's a local train that only takes about 10 minutes. This time when you go to the ticket counter, you'll only need to purchase your Shinkansen ticket from Shinagawa to Kyoto. The local train you'll pay for with a Suica card. I'll show you how to add one to your Apple or Android wallet. It's very straightforward. It's just like using Apple Pay on a subway or public transport in America. Notice I didn't tell you to go and withdraw any money or get an eSIM. For your phone access, just use your cell phone carrier's international plan. It's way more affordable and way more convenient. And for cash, use an ATM card at many of the locations. You can literally go to any 7-Eleven or Family Mart. They're all over, and you can withdraw cash that way. It's the best way to get local currency. So if you're spending the night in Tokyo instead to give your parents more rest, you can buy an Airport Express ticket to Shinagawa Station and also ask them for a Shinkansen ticket the next day to Kyoto Station. Get the first available since you'll be up well before it leaves around 6 a.m. If you ever miss a Shinkansen trip, you can always book a later trip by going up to the ticketing counter and they'll give you a non-reserved seat. When you arrive at Shinagawa Station, you can eat dinner with one of the many restaurants that they have available and then walk to a local hotel nearby. Speaking of hotels, if you're heading straight for Kyoto, you'll be spending tonight and 2 more nights at Noga Hotel. My mom and I loved this hotel. It's really well located in Kyoto with one of the major attractions just walking distance away. It's super clean, it's super quiet, and it has a soundproof bathroom. So if you wake up early, you can get ready even if you're sharing a room without waking anybody else. And most importantly, they have an on-site bakery that uses local Kyoto wheat to make fresh bread. I don't even like carbs in the US, but I couldn't stop eating bread in Japan. Now, if you chose option 2 and you need to book a hotel in Tokyo near Shinagawa Station to get a night's rest, you really can't go wrong. Find an option with a 4-star rating or above, and on Google Maps, you'll have a great stay. Hotels in Japan operate at a much higher standard than hotels anywhere else, so even a 3-star hotel is going to feel luxurious because it's so clean and the facilities are very well updated. Day 2 is where all of the fun begins. So if you're already in Kyoto, this is how your day looks. You'll wake up at around 4 a.m., even with the alarm not going off, and get ready. You'll have some snacks that you picked up either at the train station or last night from the hotel bakery. You can make yourself a pot of matcha tea or coffee. First light in October is usually around 5:30 a.m., so you can grab a cab either through Uber or you can ask the hotel directly to Fushimi Inari Shrine. This is the famous fox shrine with hundreds of red gates that you've probably seen so often on social media. Arriving as the sun rises, you'll have the place pretty much to yourself. We showed up at 7 a.m. and it was still very empty. If you spent the night in Tokyo, drop your bags at Noga Hotel after getting off the Shinkansen and head over to Fushimi Inari Shrines. The crowds will be a little bit more packed, but if they get really bad, you can hike up all the way to the top and they'll thin out. There's really no advantage to going all the way up, so my mom and I went about 1/3 of the way and then turned back, and we still had a great experience. Now, you should take a cab back to the hotel for breakfast. Taking cabs in Japan is totally fine. It's just wasteful if you're a local, like taking Ubers everywhere in New York City. Walking speeds in this guide are parent pace adjusted. So if you can walk quickly, you can cut those times in half. So once you're back at the hotel for breakfast, you can get ready for a 30-minute walk to Kiyomizudera. There's no specific time you need to arrive, and the rest of the day is not in a hurry, so you can take your time with this. When you get to Kimizudera, you'll see a beautiful temple on top of a hill. It's super famous, it gets very crowded, and we only spent about 45 minutes here, but it is beautiful in the fall. On your way to the temple, you're going to stop at a family mart, and it has an ATM where you can withdraw yen. Again, like I mentioned before, this is the best place for you to withdraw cash. And while Japan has got a lot more accepting of credit cards than they were when I first went 8 years ago, temples, parks, gardens, they still only take cash. So before stopping at our first temple, which we have to pay for, we're going to make sure we pull out enough cash. It should only take about 1,000 yen per person, but you might as well pull extra just in case you find some souvenirs or trinkets or some street food that you want to try, and they only take cash. So after you've completed your time at Kimizudera, you can walk over to Sanenzaka. This is a hill with traditional Japanese architecture and a bunch of small shops for souvenir, coffee, and food. It's just fun to walk through these streets and imagine like you were there 400 years ago. Now, if you navigate to the traditional Starbucks coffee, you'll be on the right street. You can stop at any point and turn around if you get bored. Walking from Kimizudera to Starbucks and then back to the hotel is going to take another hour and 15 minutes. So today you're going to be walking about 3.5 hours total for the day. So that's everything I recommend for day one. A bit slower pace and very adjustable based on energy levels. If you have the energy, I recommend heading over to Vegan Ramen Uzu Kyoto for dinner. I'm not vegan, but my vegetarian mom loved her first bowl of ramen there. It's also very unique as a dining experience visually. If you still have energy, you can go to the Kyoto Gyoen National Gardens. It's a really nice place to go for an after dinner stroll. And then your hotel, of course, has a rooftop bar. There's always interesting people to meet there. So great way to start your first day. All right, so on day 3, you get to experience one of my favorite parts of Kyoto. Arashiyama is this beautiful bamboo forest where on the left and right of you, down a narrow path, are bamboo that is at least 10, 20 times taller than you. The air is still and quiet and calm, and this place gets absolutely destroyed by the crowds later in the day. So this was one of my mom's favorite places. I highly recommend you make it here early before people destroy the atmosphere. If you wake up at 4 a.m., you're going to take a cab around 5:15 a.m., walk around the tall bamboo and just enjoy the moment. And when you're done, it's going to be too early for you to head back to the hotel. Not many places are going to be open. So we're going to head over to Coffee Shop Yamamoto. It's this beautiful family-run place. It's got picture menus, and on the way, there's an ATM you can stop at to withdraw cash. Today, we're going to be spending a lot of cash on everything that we do, so make sure that you have enough. If you have a maximum amount you can withdraw, I would do that because you'll spend it by the time you're done with the trip on trinkets and other activities. After breakfast, you're going to head to Tenryuji Temple. There's a massive garden and it's beautifully kept. So it's very serene to sit here and just think about your thoughts and talk to your loved ones while you enjoy the atmosphere. After you're done with that, you can walk over to Rickshaw Cafe. Now, if your parents are getting tired of walking around, this is an amazing option because you can pay to take a rickshaw through Arashiyama where they have private paths. So if you didn't get a chance to enjoy it before the crowds, go ahead and do this. If you've already walked through Arashiyama in the morning, then an option is to take that rickshaw through all of the other parts of Kyoto. The people that do these tours, they don't speak the best English. They're getting better and better as they realize they need to, but they are really friendly. And if you don't have someone that's as good as English, maybe they're really good at taking photos, which was the truth in our case. My mom loved this so much. She wanted to try to break Japanese culture and tip this guy, but I had to tell her that wasn't part of the deal. So after you've completed that, you can head over to Arashiyama Station. All up and down the street are little shops, trinkets, places that give out free samples, lots of cool places you can pop in and out. And whenever you get tired, you can head out, you can leave. If you do wait here long enough, you might get lucky. At Arashiyama Station, kids will come and try to practice their English with you. And if you give them time and let them practice, they'll give you gifts. They'll give you paper cranes, little pamphlets about where they're from and what there is to see there. It's a really cute and unique experience. So by the time you hit around 3 p.m., it's probably a good idea to start heading back. Maybe grab an early or late dinner. If you didn't catch the ramen place yesterday, you can check it out today. All right, so day 4 is your last full day in Kyoto, and you have a couple different options. My mom and I went on a river cruise, which I don't recommend. It got monotonous because the guides were speaking in Japanese, so we really didn't understand the history behind what we were doing. You could go to Philosopher's Path. It's usually more scenic during spring with the cherry blossoms, but you'll be able to stop at plenty of beautiful cafes and just enjoy your time. You could do Mount Kurama, which is in the north. It's another mountain shrine, less crowded than Fushimi Inari. It's got beautiful beautiful fall foliage, so if you want that type of mountainous atmosphere, that's a great option. If you're young and traveling on your own or with friends, you can take a hike from Kuramadera to Kifune Shrine using the route path. It's about a 5-kilometer hike. You start in one city and end in another. It's very scenic, very beautiful, and you can enjoy lunch at the city you just hiked to, so it's really rewarding. You could also take a day trip to D Matcha. They make matcha here. It's a farm. You can get the entire experience from how they grow it to how they brew it for you. It's a flat price of $100 per person, and they will include lunch with that. I highly recommend this because it's a very unique experience, very beautiful, and the scenery you're going to see is not what you'll see anywhere else on your trip. So another really great way to find activities to do in any major city is to look up the Airbnb Experiences tab. They're going to have really cool, unique, local experiences and local guides. So what me and my mom did in Kyoto was make kimonos. They actually put our family crest and name on the lapel, and it was a really cool souvenir to take back home. If you don't want to do any of this, you could just go straight to Nara. Your hotel has its own hot springs, and at different hours of the day, they're going to serve you different snacks. So they'll serve you ice cream, they'll serve you fresh fruit, they'll serve you ramen at the end of the night. So if you're like a Pisces like me, I loved being in that water. It was a really cool experience, and it has a Western hotel vibe because it has regular beds and it has regular bathrooms, but it's also very traditional. The moment you walk in, you take off your shoes, they give you special socks, and everywhere you go in the hotel, there's tatami mats, so it's a really unique experience, and I could spend all day just inside that hotel relaxing and recharging. When you're going to Nara, make sure that you go to Nara Station. You want to take the Tofukuji line instead of the other line, which drops you off at Kintetsu Nara Station. That's because you're going to have a 2-minute walk from Nara Station to your hotel, as opposed to a 30-minute walk from Kintetsu Nara Station to your hotel. All right, so day 5 starts in Nara. This is one of my favorite cities in all of Japan because it's this really cool blend of nature plus city. Today, you can go at your own pace. Don't feel rushed. The day is meticulously planned so you can get the most out of the city, but the whole thing only takes about 6 hours. So when you leave the hotel, you can stop at Chami. It's this specialty coffee roaster. Grab something to go and make your way over to Kofukuji. This is a shrine that you're not going to go inside of, but it's the start of the famous Nara Park. Now, as you make your way through the rest of the park, you will see Nara's famous deer. These deer are friendly, but they can also be a little ferocious. When you get cookies from the vendors, they may bum rush you, and if they do and you get scared, just show them your empty hands and they'll back off. Now, if you put the cookies in your pocket and they see you doing that, your clothes will get chomped on. So wear something that you aren't afraid of getting bitten. Once you leave Kofukuji Shrine, after walking around the perimeter, you're going to make your way to Isuien Gardens. This is a beautiful garden area. It's very much worth going into, but you can adjust how long you spend based on whether or not you're having a good time. After that, you're going to go to Todaiji. This is one of the most worth it temples to actually go inside of, explore the grounds, see the architecture. After you've seen that, you can go to Mizuya Chaya. It's a spot for lunch. You don't have to because we have another lunch spot in about another hour and a half after this, but it's within the park and it's kind of cool. You can get some soba and tempura. It's pretty scenic too to be inside of Nara Park eating lunch, so that's kind of a plus. From there, you're going to go to the Manyo Botanical Gardens. Highly underrated. I really love this spot. It has wisteria flowers. It's cool to see. And then they have koi fish that you can feed. Also really fun. From there, you're going to go to Vegan Cafe Ramuna. This is a great spot for tempura, for any vegetarian-friendly people that are with you that they can have a great lunch. There's also other spots in the area if you don't want to eat vegan. And then finally, you're going to go to the place where they pound mochi. You can just walk by and watch this. You don't have to buy anything. It's just a cool spot to see them kind of work on something traditional. On the way back to the hotel, there's an awesome massage spot called Re 3. I recommend stopping here. You have just walked about 5 hours, and I'm sure your feet could use some help. My mom and I loved the massages here. Very, very, very underrated. It might help to make a reservation the night before. They are open until 10, so if you miss your chance on the way back, it's close enough to the hotel where you can circle back and enjoy a nice massage. So you can leave Nara at your own pace the next day. There's no rush to get into Osaka. Once you're there, I recommend you stay stay at the Ritz-Carlton. It's the best deal I found, especially if you have an Amex where you get free breakfast, lunch, and early check-in. Even if you don't have a platinum card, the off-season rates are very affordable. The hotel is centrally located with lots of amenities, and the concierge is excellent at finding things for you to do if there's something on the itinerary that you want to swap out. Once you've checked in, head over to Osaka Castle. The grounds themselves are beautiful, and as you walk through the gates, you'll understand, this place was used for warfare. You can go into the castle itself, you'll see samurai outfits, and you can climb up to the top to get a better feel for what a old Japanese castle used to feel like. Once you're done with that, you can head over to Haruka's 300 Observatory. It's the tallest building in Japan. The top floors have a cafe where you can stop and enjoy lunch. If you didn't find anything you liked there, there's an excellent tempura place downstairs with vegetarian and meat options. And in the evening, I recommend you stop at Team Lab Botanical Gardens. It's this really cool blend of nature and technology, which I think encapsulates Japan and its major cities really well. So your next day in Osaka has some pretty interesting itinerary items. There's an abandoned railroad hike that you can go on. So basically you take the train up to one station, you walk the closed down track to another station, and it's cool, kind of spooky. You go through some closed down tunnels with no lights. It's interesting, but maybe not the best for your older parents. The next thing that I have on the itinerary is that you stop at Costco. So your Costco membership is globally active. If you have one, I've heard it's a really cool experience to go to a Costco in another country. And my mom didn't get to do this, and she said she really wanted to. Then you can go to a lunch buffet at the Ritz-Carlton Osaka or enjoy tea time there. Both I highly recommend. First of all, the service is incredible. I never knew what tea time was, but basically you just get cracked out on coffee and sugar. It's a really good time. The next thing you do in the evening is you go to a couple different markets. So you can go to Shinsaibashi Shopping Street. This is a bunch of fancy shops that you can pop in and out of. You can also go to Kuromon Ichiba Market. So this is a bunch of food stalls. I would definitely go here hungry. I wouldn't eat dinner somewhere else. You can just sample a bunch of street food. And because it's Japan, you know that it's all sanitary. It's all good to eat. Afterward, you can go to the Tombori Riverwalk or take a ferry in that area. You don't necessarily have to book in advance. You can just go to the stall, and I would use Google Maps to find where it is and get there. And then on your way back, I recommend stopping at Rikuru Daimaru. It's a cheesecake stall. I would pause there because it's not a cheesecake like anything you've experienced in the States, so it's a very unique opportunity to try a very quintessential Osaka dessert. So on day 3 of Osaka, I recommend you try to take your parents to Universal Studios. If they worked really hard to take you to theme parks as a kid, you kind of get to return the favor, and it has both Mario and Harry Potter, so there's lots of things to check out, even if you are an adult. If, like in our case, my mom was feeling a little tired, a lower cost and lower energy option is the Osaka Aquarium. Here you'll be able to see whale sharks, which is insane to check out in a tank. And afterward, if you have time, you can check out the giant Ferris wheel nearby with good lighting and views of the city. Now, if you decide to go back to Tokyo today, that totally makes sense. You'll have a full day in Tokyo tomorrow and another half day in Tokyo the day after. The reason I really didn't prioritize Tokyo for this trip is because, one, it's always a great place to go when you're returning to Japan if you decide to go to Okinawa or to the beaches or up north to check out skiing. And two, I like the people in other cities a lot better, especially when you're there as a first timer. If you don't follow a cultural expectation, you're not going to be chastised as much for it, and somebody will actually help you and make sure that you're taken care of. In Tokyo, it's very much like New York, where people are in a hurry and they have a lot of responsibilities and they just don't really have the time to deal with the 10,000th tourist of the day. So your last full day in Japan is going to be in the world's most populous city. There's a tremendous amount of things to do, but the one I want to give you advice on is Team Lab Planets. This is the one you see often on Instagram. It's got a bunch of interactive exhibits, water, blow-up inflatables, lights. I highly recommend that if you're going to go to this exhibit, you go first thing in the morning. It opens at 9 a.m. Try to get the earliest slot you can. My mom and I both caught COVID at this exhibit. They don't really have very good spacing with the crowds of people that they need to push through this exhibit. So it's going to be very difficult to not catch something, and your immune system has to be very strong. If you're tired after an extended period of travel or you've flown into the city, I don't recommend hitting up this place because you will get sick. You can instead go to Team Lab Borderless. That's got a little bit better spacing and less likelihood of catching something. And in any case, if you do have an elderly parent with you, I highly recommend you wear a face mask. After you've gone to a exhibit like Team Lab Planus, you're probably going to have a pretty big appetite. So I recommend you go to Toyosu Senyaku. That's a awesome food hall. It's a newer spot that's opened up to be traditionally looking, but it's got a bunch of different food stall options. You might have already gotten this out of your system in Osaka, but it's ultimately up to you. Another cool spot to check out is Small Worlds. It's a miniature museum. Some people might find this boring. Some people might find it interesting. Really, it's just an option. Really, Tokyo's got a tremendous amount of things to do. Everything from shopping to fashion. If you go on the Airbnb experiences tab, you'll even see people that will go and take photos of you. Trying to get my mom hyped for this, but she just really wasn't into it. But it might be something cool for you to do with your parents to get some lasting memories. And I think it's a great way to cap off your trip. So your last day in Japan is a half day in Tokyo. You can spend that observing nature at Ginkgo Avenue, where you have a long road with yellow leaf trees on each side. During autumn, they fall and blanket the road in yellow, so it's a really cool experience. On the weekends, there's also farmers markets, so you can check out local treats. If you still want to see nature, I recommend going up to Shinjuku National Garden. They have an orchid exhibit where I've seen more new plants in that exhibit than anywhere else in the world. If you're tired of nature, you can go up to Isetan Shopping District. There, it was a kimono shop that just exploded into this high-end fashion district as the city just kept growing. On the bottom floor, there's cosmetics and tea and English-speaking attendants. So if you want some higher-end gifts to take home, that's where I recommend you get them. And then on the bottom floor, there's also a supplement store. They'll make you custom supplement packs based on what you want to address. My mom and I loved this, and we took a bunch home with us. So that pretty much wraps up my travel guide to Japan. I hope this helps you plan a wonderful trip for your parents where you have countless memories to share with them. One last travel tip I'll add is that in order for you to not have to do laundry, I recommend packing multiple undergarments and something durable to wear on the outside. Japan's really clean, so you can get away with re-wearing an outfit twice. So packing 5 outfits should be more than enough. And my very first video on this channel was a guide on how to pack 5 outfits in one backpack. So if that's something you're interested in, I highly recommend you check it out. This is my second video on the channel. It's very different than the first in that it's a much longer format. If you found value in this, let me know, and let me know what kind of format's more helpful. If you just want a high sky in the view of what travel should look like in different areas for your parents, I'm more than happy to do that. But if you like this longer format with a very detailed analysis of all of my research when I plan this trip, I'm more than happy to keep the videos more focused on that. The next video is going to be our road trip through Scotland. So if you're interested and you want itineraries that are designed for parents but can be easily modified for your friends, this is the channel for you. Thank you guys for your time, and I hope you have a wonderful day.